Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. I hope you're all having a fantastic Friday evening. The Battlefront hype is truly rolling right now. We're breaking new records just as of this moment when I'm recording this video. We've got multiple old Battlefront 2 developers speaking out about the game and even coming up with a realistic plan for how we could get Battlefront 3. Among many things that I wanted to go over in this video, so let's just jump straight into it. The Battlefront train is truly rolling, and just as of this moment we broke a new all-time high on Steam charts. Over 11,000 players currently playing the game, and I want to reiterate what I've said in my previous videos. Keep in mind that Steam is only a small fraction of the full player base. Most people on PC are playing through the EA app or Epic Games, as the game was released on Steam after the support had already ended. And I've gotten regular reports from people with insight to the game that we have been close to 200,000 concurrent players last night. We still don't know what the all-time peak is, but one thing is for certain, we are reaching some very high numbers right now. And I know some people have doubted when me and some others have gone up with these numbers, since we're not able to base them on any official statements, and that's true, but hopefully I've been trustworthy enough over the years that you guys trust the numbers I give you. But on top of that, two former developers have actually gone out and confirmed that our numbers are indeed realistic, with one saying those numbers are plausible, and as the former dev states, we hit those numbers during live, referring to the other developer that I will get to a little bit later in the video. But this is just the beginning. Tomorrow is Saturday, which means a lot of people are going to be able to play, and there's a big movement for Battlefront Resurgence Day, which means that everyone, if you are able, jump on and play the game tomorrow on the platform of your choice. Let's see if we can break some actual records. We obviously don't know the all-time peak, and the only official numbers we have are the ones from Steam, and where I'm getting my play numbers for, they don't really have historical data for the game. But nevertheless, considering we're breaking the Steam records today, it's not unlikely we'll break some big records tomorrow. So hop on and play at any time tomorrow, and I'm also gonna do a stream tomorrow night, so make sure that you tune in for that. I had an absolute blast streaming the game yesterday. Continuing, Mohanad Ben Amor, who plays Wilmon in Andor, is back at it again out on his Instagram, this time posting a story saying, "Grew up with Battlefront 2, been a veteran since day one, let's hope Battlefront 3 happens." Also posting a screenshot of his 469 hours in the game. I love that we've got an actual rebel from Star Wars supporting our rebellion to get Battlefront 3. Incredible, but it also makes me feel old when people say that they grew up with this Battlefront 2, when I grew up with the old Battlefront 2 that came out in 2005. But nevertheless, now let's move on to something very interesting. A ton of posts from Mats Helge, a former producer on Battlefront 2 who has been very active out on Reddit. He's actually posted a lot over the last week, but I wanted to go over what I think is the most important stuff he has said so far. First of all, he was asked if the developers actually want to return to work on Battlefront 2. And he said, "Me and having heard about my group of ex-colleagues, we want to get the gang back together." So there's obviously a willingness, at least from part of the development team, to work on Battlefront again. Next up, he was asked the following: "Even though most of the OGs have gone now, I'm sure that DICE could still pull off an amazing Battlefront 3 with the team that they have, right?" To which he responded with, "I am skeptical. The live team ended up approaching the game very differently than the original developers. If they went about it the same way as before, they will not get how we brought the game back from the abyss. So if their goal was to, let's learn everything from their work, perhaps if they are new game, Battlefield but in Star Wars outfits, it won't turn out well." And I think he brings up a very good point here. For those of you who followed the entire development of Battlefront 2, you know how different of an approach that the live service team actually had compared to the original developers. They changed and improved so many things from the original design, and when Dennis and his entire team took over, it was very clear that they knew what they were doing. They added exactly what the community wanted, and they did it the right way. And I've always said that for the last 10 years, imagine what would have happened if the people who were responsible for the live service of Battlefront 2 also made the base game. Because in case you don't remember, they were actually stuck working on the Battlefront 1 live service and DLCs when Battlefront 2 started development, and then jumped in late in the development and took over completely when the game was already out and basically down in the abyss. Mats also continued explaining a little bit more how he views Battlefront versus Battlefield, saying, "So let me dive a bit deeper into this. Battlefield is inherently a first-person shooter that has its main character being the gun/weapon. The shooter aspect of it is the primary thing that needs to be fulfilled. I think you can have Battlefield on almost any field as long as it had guns. Battlefront is a Star Wars game that happens to be a shooter. We have a lot of our characters playing third person because it's about the character, not the weapons. Balance is also something that must bow down to Star Wars, so Anakin will be more powerful than a droideka, but also a droideka will be more powerful than a clone trooper. I believe Battlefront can only happen in a Star Wars world, and this is why I'm somewhat disappointed in Fortnite's attempt to push Star Wars characters into a non-Star Wars game. Star Wars is not this transitory IP that can be placed inside something else. Marvel is closer to that, but even there, not so much. Making a Battlefront is not about making a great shooter, it's about making a good Star Wars game that involves some shooting, but maybe also other stuff. And I think he really hit the nail on the head here. This is exactly why me and so many other people are disappointed in the way they're using the Star Wars brand. Like, I don't hate the stuff they're doing with Star Wars and Fortnite. It's well made. The problem is that that's the only stuff we're getting. They're churning Star Wars into Destiny, into Fortnite, into other game franchises that are not built for Star Wars. You can make a cool little thing that'll be fun for a week or so, but it's not a Star Wars game, and that's the huge problem, and that's why I think he is completely right. Moving on, he was also asked how many people that are left from the live team, saying that from what I know, about 3 people are left, which is obviously very little. And he was then also asked if someone has reached out with the recent hype, saying if they reached out, I would definitely be under NDA and could not keep you updated at all. And then he said no one has reached out. And obviously that makes sense. I don't think anyone's expecting this to happen in a week. The movement we're seeing right now is to start a conversation, to make the right calls happen, not to get an announcement within a week. But now to what I think is the most interesting part of it all, him giving a realistic plan to how we could actually get Battlefront 3, knowing how difficult of a game it is to make and how much pressure it is. Hear me out, no Battlefront 3 right now, but a Battlefront 2 remaster for whatever future console is arriving in 27-28. Dev time is around 2 to 3 years. There is a laundry list of improvements that this game could get, in my opinion, and getting it updated was always on our wish list. Once that is a success, then start work on 3. You have a team familiar with the engine, assets, and really could kick off developing a 3 within a much shorter time span, and working on feedback from a fresh Battlefront 2 audience base. This would be a 5 to 6 year plan, but it's far more likely to be a success. I think this is the realistic way this could happen, because they're not just going to be like, oh, people want Battlefront, here's 500 developers who are going to make a Battlefront 3 tomorrow. That's not how it works. And they also need to get a solid team together if this is actually going to happen. And I think this sounds like a fantastic idea on how to do that. And considering how much people are already playing Battlefront 2, even like before this resurgence, if they were to re-release it on new platforms and also remaster the game in general, fixing up a lot of the things that was wrong with it without adding new content, but just polishing it basically, that would keep the player base active. And like you said, they would have people to actually get feedback from when they create a Battlefront 3. So I think that is a fantastic plan, and I really hope some EA higher-ups or Lucasfilm higher-ups are reading this. Moving on, I wanted to mention that Ben Walk, the former community manager from Battlefront 2, who is now a producer on Battlefield, and one of the few people who still works at DICE, posted a little image out on Twitter that the Battlefront community wall is still there and standing, 5 years after the support ended and the team disbanded. I think it's fantastic to see, as that community wall really was something special, with all the various memes, images, art, and all that kind of stuff that the developers printed out and put up there. But to be clear, I don't think there's any Battlefront game in the works. I don't think there's been any talks about a Battlefront game with any developers, except for maybe higher-ups in EA or Lucasfilm starting to have those important discussions that could get the ball rolling. And I think Mats also pointed out something very important in other comments, that the actual live service team who made Battlefront 2 a success are very far spread apart right now. I do know that a big chunk of them are working at Denny's studio, but on top of that, I know people who went to Massive, King, Avalanche, Starbreeze, and many others. So actually getting the full team back together is just not gonna happen. But if you could just get a few core people who knew what they were doing to lead a new Battlefront studio, I think that's really all that would be needed. Under the right leadership, wonders can be made. Important thing is that it happens and that they take it in the right direction. But that brings all the stuff I had to talk about today to an end. Make sure to show up for Battlefront Resurgence Day tomorrow. Play the game, join the stream if you want to, and let's see the play count skyrocket. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the force be with you.